Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Two. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am fired up and thrilled to have you join us today. My guest today, I met a month or two back. I don't remember the time because time flies when you get older. But we just connected, and we're going to talk about sales and how servant leadership, servant heart ties into sales. It's changed my life, and he's going to show you how he changes other people's lives. You're going to love this show. That's why we dedicated the podcast to exploring the idea of a servant's heart in your business and life, because they do cross over. You learn to serve in business, you learn to serve in life, and that's a purpose that we all should have, I believe. That's just my opinion. We're also going to bring guests on. They're going to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you so you can make an impact in your world, not the whole world. We'll let the other people deal with that, just your world. That's fantastic. It's such a great feeling. I get to do it every day. Here's your homework today. Think about how you're going to serve yourself and others today, what impact you create today. Key word is today. Let's not wait to do this. Let's make that impact today or tomorrow, and then keep doing it daily or as much as you can. With that being said, our episode is sponsored by Pantheon. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders who are creating this thought leader platform to help grow you, your business, but also impact and change the world. For more information, there'll be a link in the show notes, and you can reach out to me with any questions. Sales. I've got a great question to start this podcast off. I'm not going to say it just yet, but it's something that half the world fears and the other half doesn't do it right. And we'll explain that more in the show. But let's bring on my guest. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve, it's great to be here. As I just said, every time we get together, I love the conversations, and there's this connection we have, and we really just elevate it. So I'm looking forward to jumping in and getting into the show, man. We're going to knock it out today.
And you got that lion behind you, and I told you that before. We're both lions in servants' hearts. We're the chief, we're the leader, and I love that. I'm glad you're on. Here's a question I kind of teased you before the show.
Yes.
Everybody is selling all the time. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, everybody's selling all the time. Well, I think more importantly, when it comes to selling, right? You're selling yourself, you're selling a product, you're selling a mission. The thing that you have to do is you have to believe in it. That's the biggest thing, okay? And I've seen this across the board in working with sales professionals throughout the years, and then sales professionals who have approached me, and maybe my biggest go-to, or the thing that I pay attention to the most when somebody is selling, maybe selling themselves. It could be themselves, it could be a product, it could be a conversation, it could be a pencil, it could be a phone, it could be anything. Do they believe in what they are selling? So if they're selling themselves, do they believe in themselves, right? Do they have that confidence in themselves? If they are selling a product, or I'm going in and I'm buying a car, do they really believe? Are they just trying to do a transaction, or do they really believe that this product can help me in the way that I need? And the way that you do that is by asking the right questions. We got to stop focusing on giving the idea about how great our product is and how great we are and what our building looks like or what our restaurant looks like or whatever that it might be. But more importantly, the idea of speaking the language of your prospects and what you can do for them and what challenges you can serve for them.
I love that. Now, you've probably heard this when you come into companies. I'm not a sales guy. I'm the admin at the counter. I'm a dentist's office and I'm the assistant. All those people, because I hear it all the time, David, is, I don't like to sell. But you just sold when you woke up and told your wife that you're going to want to go to a movie tonight. You're trying to sell her going to a movie. That's where people kind of lose sight of sales is everywhere, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think there's certain industries that maybe have not given sales the credibility they need, but right, because that's the stuff that's right in your face all the time, right? It's right in your face. It's in your face. They're selling a car. They're selling me this. I mean, you're sitting and watch TV. You're going to get an ad and they're trying to sell you on it. They're trying to tell a story on why you should buy this product. And they're trying to make that impression on you. So, yes, I mean, I think we're always selling to a certain point. Sometimes it's it's conscientious. Sometimes it is not. But yes, I think the way that we communicate and the way that we approach things, I don't think you intentionally think that you're always selling, but I think you're right. I think we're always trying to connect. And I always, I've always heard the term, right? ABC, always be closing, right? You heard that one? That's not my gig. My ABC is always be connecting. Always be connecting. And whether you're selling your spouse on the idea of going to a movie or going to dinner, it's not about selling them. It's about connecting with them on the idea of the intention. Right?
I love it.
I'll say that one more time. It's not about selling them. It's about the idea of connecting with them on the intention. Does it serve them? Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a great restaurant. It does serve. I believe, and that goes back to what we talked earlier, the belief. Do I believe that this is a great, and as simple as we're talking about this conversation, just going to dinner with your spouse, right? Do I believe that this is a great restaurant? Yes, I believe it. Am I going to be intentional about why we should go? Yes. It's the same thing in the sales process. Do I believe in my product? Am I being intentional with my prospect about how I can help them? If you really break it down that simply, it carries over to everyday life and all the conversations that you have each and every day.
David, you're brilliant. That is so simple. Hard to execute because the mind gets away, but it's really a simple process. And the restaurant, why do we go back to our restaurants? Because the customer service is good, the food was good. We go to the same restaurants all the time for that. And we just came up with a new acronym. World, this is being released today at 9:15 a.m. Pacific time. ABV, always bring value. See how great a guest this guy is? He just brought, I love it. Between ABC and ABV, it's awesome. So I'm excited to talk about your strategies because you have very cool strategies with companies.
Sure.
Walk us through that journey.
Ooh, yeah. Every company is a little bit different because, the first thing that I look at when I look at an organization is I do this exercise and I call it the power statement. Okay. It's not a value proposition. It's not a pitch. Okay. And we've all heard this before. If you were in front of, and if you were in a stadium in front of 50,000 of your greatest targets or prospects, what would you say, right? We've all heard that before. And the power statement that I do in this exercise is cultivating just that, but not just explaining about what you do, okay? It's not explaining about what you do. It's leading with how you can help. What challenges do you solve for your prospects? Because when sales professionals start speaking the language of their prospects, now they got their attention. So I'll do this exercise and I'll bring in the CEO and I'll bring in the marketing people and I'll bring in the sales managers and I'll bring in the sales professionals and I'll be like, tell me what you do. And then you'll get 10 iterations of what you do and they're all different, right? And it's not an easy exercise. I mean, we unpack this thing into a process. But the thing that we really try to do is align the organizations on, and I'm going to try to break it down simply here, these three things. One, what challenges do you solve for your prospect? Okay. How do you do it? And lastly, what makes you different? Now, again, it sounds so simple, but the process is really, it's really amazing when this thing cultivates from top to bottom. And then
Yeah.
what happens is once you have this down, it can evolve as time goes on. You can even it'll evolve. But the big thing is it starts bleeding into all your marketing messaging. It starts bleeding into all your email messaging. It starts bleeding into all the ways that you communicate with a prospect. Or if you're at a party and somebody asks you, "Hey, what do you do?" You just have this power statement down. And you really convey that in a way that grabs the attention of somebody you're speaking to, but is very concise on what challenges you tackle, how you do it, and what makes you different. And that right there can really spawn to a lot of appointments, a lot of meetings, and a lot of good conversations.
Wow, you're getting deep here, and not deep where it's hard, but deep to because the purpose is part of that. What's your challenges, how and different. Your purpose is part of that. That sits there and goes, how do you do this? Oh, this is powerful, David. Oh my God, you're teaching me so much. I know I've seen my side of my head because I got to take notes. I got to learn too. This great guy. So do us a favor. Can you kind of give us an example of a company you work with and how you did this and what the ROI was?
Yeah, I mean, one company in particular that I do some work with is called Our Town America. Okay, and I'm going to use this one specifically because years back, when I first got into business, I was lucky enough to be a franchisee in their business, and I sold my franchise. I went off and did a number of other things, but the CEO and I always stayed in touch. Um, and then about a year and a half ago, started engaging. Now you've got a company that's been around for almost 50 years, okay, franchisees in the system, and they had a certain way of doing it. And even the way they were doing it, I was taught years and years back. So there's a lot of foundational elements, long and the short of it. But it was coming back in and almost reprogramming the way that they execute on just this conversation, the sales process, and the things that we do. Always be connecting, way you follow up with a prospect, the way you engage with them after a meeting, and everything top to bottom. Well, over the last year, I've worked with that organization, my partner and I in the consulting business, and over the last year, we've increased their revenue by 30% as an organization.
Ooh,
And there's another of other things that have happened, but really, it was getting everybody aligned. You have a company that's around for a while. Sometimes what happens is you can have people who kind of go off on their own and maybe have different ways of doing things, or maybe the ways that they used to do things don't work anymore. And you've got to have that evolution, right? So it was really great for me because it was where I started, and I was able to come back years later and work with them again as one of my clients that I do some work for. So it was really great to come back and do that. But not only that, obviously impact the bottom line with revenue
no,
over the last
and the
year and a half.
franchisees as
Yeah.
well, because you come in, you give them tools.
Yeah.
Um, how can you help? Does that change? Maybe not year to year, but a 30-year-old company, maybe every 10 years, that messaging is changing. So you always have to follow up on it, correct?
Yeah, well, I think things change from, again, when you're speaking the language of your prospect,
Mm.
sometimes the needs change for your prospect, right? Maybe the economy, maybe goods have gone up, right? First thing they cut is marketing. So if you're a marketing company, then you got to speak to that a little bit more. When the economy's doing better, you might not have to speak to that as much, but maybe it's standing out from the competition. Whatever it is, I think you really just have to be in tune in what's going on with your prospect in certain times of their business cycle. So that's where the knowledge comes in, and that's where it starts with what I talked about earlier is speaking their language. If you've got a business where their costs are up, you can lead in with something like, "Listen, I specifically work with organizations where costs have gone up and they need to drive in new customers," right? So I've already eliminated or I've already validated the fact that I know that they're struggling with their costs going up right now, specifically maybe to one thing or another. But now I've got their attention. And not only do I have their attention, I build that credibility because I've just validated with them that I know what they're up against as an organization.
How important is the alignment of the marketing and sales department? That they're in line, they're on the same freeway, going the same direction.
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's important. We hear it all the time. And I just did a podcast, and I think I did a post on this recently. I wish I could take the sales team and just plop them in the marketing chair for a week, and then take the marketing people and just put them out in the sales field for a week, because it would eliminate a lot of confusion, and it would really tie those lines together, and understanding. We talked about speaking the language. They would understand that a little bit more. It's not practical, but there are some things you can do as an organization to get involved. Like one of the organization, the businesses I had, and not just from marketing team, but everybody, because we were such a B2B sales driven business, everybody top to bottom, from the administrator to our marketing team to our graphics department, everybody went through our sales training to
Wow.
understand at one point or another, to understand what happens out in the field with our sales professionals, because not only will it give them more of a scope on what happens on a daily basis, they can come up with ideas on how better to help or draw the connection, and really elevate and give them tools and direction to be more effective in the field. So I think it's absolutely huge. And I had a guest on, and really it's just about having. He was talking about having that. He was specializing in that marketing sales connection, and the more that you can engage those teams, and I wish I would have done it more even in the past, more than just a sales training. But the more that you can engage those teams in a meeting weekly, bi-weekly, once a month, whatever works for your organization, I think the more that you're going to get out of it, and the more connections you're going to have for better campaigns. Because ultimately, here's what it comes down to, Steve, right? Sales team says marketing's not doing enough, I need more leads. And then marketing team says, hey, we've put all these leads on you, why aren't you closing them? And there's a gap there that's missing. And any opportunities that you can bring those two together, I think, is going to strengthen your organization.
You're bringing a football analogy to my head. The coach and the quarterback. Coach is marketing, the quarterback is sales. If they're not in communication and correct understanding, it's why they go over hours of playbook and plays and all that. It's exactly the same thing. And you're right. We all know this, but you're running the companies all the time that's not happening, right? Where there's just the disconnect. Audience, if you got a marketing and sales department, it's not working, please reach out to David. And I'm going to get his contact info. It's huge. You get those two talking, I could see a 10, 20% increase in revenue just having them communicate better. Yeah. And then you add all the other stuff to that. Servant's heart, you have it, you bleed it. But how does somebody, because I get this asked all the time, how do I incorporate that in my sales?
Well, I think it's about being intentional, right? Yeah. I think it's about really being intentional in the idea that you can help. And that's why this power statement is so effective. It really leads with, what are some of the challenges that your prospect's having? And that's where the help comes in. And I heard this, and I've heard this recently, and it's really stuck with me. I heard it about 3 or 4 months ago, and it was a speech with a guy by the name of Ryan Estes, and he has a company called is it Impact 11 or Elevate 11? Anyway, it's a great
11's in there,
yeah. And he said this. He said, stop. And I'm probably chopping this up, but he said, stop worrying about what your prospects are thinking and start worrying about how you make them feel. And I thought, man, that's some powerful stuff, Steve, right? That just little tweak or that little change in your perspective can really put your best intentions forward. Because I'm big on intentions, but that kind of tied it all together for me. It's like, all right, I'm going to be intentional here, right? I'm not going to worry about what they think. I'm not trying to change their mind. I'm not going to sit here and try to change somebody's mind when they've told me that they don't want to do it. What I really want to change is the way that they feel.
Yeah.
Got to change the way that they feel. And that's where the challenges come in. Like I heard that and it kind of like wrapped up a lot of the stuff that I talk about and I train, because it really is geared around that. It's all about the feelings,
Yeah.
how you do that. So, um, yeah, I hope I answered your question there.
Oh my God, you just made me $1 million. No, serious. I mean, and we need reminders of that, but that again, it goes back to that. Why do we go back to that restaurant? Because they make us feel good. Yeah, the food's good and everything, but if, as I always say, you go walk into a restaurant, the food could be the greatest in the world, but it comes late, it's cold, there's mistakes all through it. You probably won't go back. The food doesn't bring people there. It's the people in the restaurant, how they treat you, because that's where it starts.
Yes.
Now, bad food, bad foods, that's a whole different. We'll get to that elephant in the room.
Yeah, right.
We're coming to the end here, but this is my favorite question, because this is what you do. This is your superpower.
Yeah.
When people get a power statement, it's probably hard for them to do in-house because of some of the things you're saying.
Yeah.
So you come in with a 30,000 foot view. How do you help with my power statement being outside?
Well, the first thing I need to understand is really what, dig under the hood a little bit and what they do. And the other thing that I really like, what I talked about earlier, is asking different people, maybe sales managers to executives to CEOs to people who are on the front lines, leading the charge. I love to ask somebody to tell me what you do. And if you were to walk in the door or meet somebody on an elevator and they asked you what you do, how would you explain it? So the real thing, the start is really understanding where they are. Okay. Once I understand where they are, and obviously I need information about the product, the type of customers. So I look at it this way. All right. So actually, I'll throw this one in there. Okay. This is my philosophy in building sales organizations. All right. You have your DNA. All right. The DNA of your sales organization could be the CEO, the sales manager, the sales professionals that are leading the charge. So you've got your DNA, right? You've kind of got the structure of your organization. And then there's two things that really bounce off the DNA. The one is, and this is not a basketball acronym, it just came out this way, but one is the NBA. Okay. The NBA is, how does your organization drive new business? And look everything top to bottom, your power statement, your outreach, your marketing, the messaging. Are you doing things by phone? Are you doing by email? Are you doing a combination? Are you walking in the doors? Whatever. It's how are you generating new business? Okay. That's the NBA. And then you have another arm off that DNA, which is called the CBA. And the CBA is current business acquisition. Okay, so you have NBA, which is new business acquisition, and then you have CBA, which is current business acquisition. How are you cultivating your current clients that you have? Are they happy? What's a great client in your system? What drew that success? What's a client that failed in your system? Why did it fail? Okay. So when I look at an organization, I look at those three things. Now, here's what's great about this, Steve. Okay. When you start strengthening your NBA, and you start strengthening your CBA, what naturally happens? Your DNA gets stronger.
Yeah.
That's how I assess a sales organization or the sales arm of an organization. And it translates over to even to some other operational or customer service department, whatever is tied to sales. But really, those are the three those sections right there. DNA, NBA, and CBA are the three pillars that I look at in starting to build a sales organization.
And I'll bet you hear this thought all the time. David, we never thought about that. And that's the power of you, because that's what you're trying to do is you're so immersed in the weeds that all this stuff, and that's the power of what you do as a consultant and consultants and coaches that are good.
It's a great point. And this is why I believe in the outside in approach. Not because I love serving and doing this and help out. Like that's where I'm at in my career. I mean, I've done this for so many years and I've worked with some great professionals. I got great help in the beginning, great opportunities when I started in business, and I took it and ran with it. And I worked with some great professionals. And the thing where I'm at today is I want to help. I want to help organizations. And when I was running organizations for so many years, and like you said it, you're in the weeds, right? There are things in your face, everything's coming at you. You just can't see things as much as somebody who looks outside in. And that's why I love doing this consulting work. But what happens is this: the years that I grew the most or I elevated the most in my organizations is when I brought a consultant in of some sort, because they look at this and they go, wait, why don't you just make this adjustment? And you're like, why didn't I think of that? Right. Or, oh, that's fantastic. Right. Like, oh, so, that's why I love the consulting, because now I'm on the outside in approach and versus the inside out approach. And I really feel like I can make that impact and serve, as you talk here, about just elevating professionals personally and professionally, and elevating organizations to their core and that DNA.
What an incredible show. We've come to the end. I increased my revenue today. Audience, you probably have too, just listening to them. Before we get to your contact info and how to connect with you, let's start with a fun question. Speaking of restaurants,
Yeah.
I've reserved, you're in Park City. Don't stalk them. I won't tell you where, but you're in Park City. I got a restaurant reserved, table of 4. You're obviously sitting in one of the chairs. The 3 empty chairs, who would you invite, whether they're dead or alive, and what food would you order?
Oh, man. That is such a great question. Who would I invite, dead or alive? Yeah. 3 chairs?
3 chairs.
3 chairs. Okay. Um, I would invite George Washington would be the first guy I'd invite. Okay. Just based on some of the readings and the things that I've done, and honestly, he had a lot of challenges and a lot of failures before he became president. So that's really admirable to me. Let me think. Who would I invite? Oh, goodness. That's such a great question. Never thought about it, put on the spot like this. Alive, and I don't want to get political, but I'm going to be honest on it as well. Okay.
Yeah.
I would invite Donald Trump. I would, just for the matter of and it's not affiliation of anything other than the fact that perseverance, whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy, you want to talk about somebody who can persevere. I think it's unbelievably amazing, getting knocked down, and keep persevering.
back up.
So yeah, and listen, there's
Powerful.
things I agree with he does, and there's things I don't agree with he does, and that's the thing. But it's more just the conceptual grit of what somebody has. And I think the third one would be Elvis.
Hey, I can't do an Elvis, and I won't try that. What a group that is. Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we eating?
We're eating Italian food, man. Pizza,
Hey.
spaghetti, everything, anything. So
Family style, we talk, we eat.
yeah.
Because I brought a 5th chair and you didn't know that.
Yeah.
I slid one in for myself because I got to be there just for you. But those 3 people, holy mackerel. Can you see George and Donald talking to each other? Be
Right?
fabulous.
And then you put Elvis in the mix.
Oh man, he can sing a song while we're doing all this.
Yeah.
That could be another movie. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
David, unbelievable show. We're so blessed to have you on, and thank you for sharing your time with us and really having that servant's heart. I know people listening are going, how can I reach out to David? How can they contact you?
Yeah, just check me out on LinkedIn, David Sliman, and we'll put that up here. Or check out my website. Our business is Sales Performance, not performance, but Sales Performance. And you can go there and hit me up. And listen, if you want to call me, my phone number is 602-620-0113. Give me a phone call if you need some help or you just want a perspective or any advice. And I think that would be open for me to do it. I love
Thank
helping.
you. And a guest that leaves his phone number, which I do the same thing in my personal email. That's what a servant's heart does. We shouldn't be afraid of what we give.
Yeah.
If it's our IP, like you gave us our whole, the power statement, somebody might take it and run with it. We don't care a servant's heart, because enjoy. If it helps you, that's all that matters. Transactions and value and money, all that will come later. Thank you again, David. And audience, here's your call to action at the end. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. But here's why. David's got a podcast. By the way, what's the name of your podcast?
Unfinished Business.
There you go. And
Yeah.
of course, obviously I have a podcast. These are gifts. And you're probably hearing this over and over again, but I'm going to keep saying this because you're listening to this and your friends just talking about how their sales have dropped or their culture has dropped in their business, or it's something that David said going, they need to hear David. Well, send the link to them. So when you subscribe, you get hey, this new show came, take those links. And that's a gift because if you give it to your friend and they reach out and get some power statements built, or they hire them or just reach out to David and it increases their business, what are they going to think? You just gave them a Christmas gift in March, April of 2025. So think of podcasts that way. That's what I think of podcasts when I hear others. And this could be any podcast. It doesn't have to be mine or David's, but think of it that way. And I guarantee you the results will be fantastic. With that being said, me and David want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with the Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Steve. This has been a great interview and you made it so easy, brother. Thanks again.